Okay, this is 25th of February, week 8, 2018. Just another review on what happened the previous week. So, just recalling where we were at the end of last week, we had sort of two active positions in the Kiwi dollar. So, we went through that one first, had a short. I was targeting about where it's sitting now, down around that 7 to 1. So, I got in back up here almost to the pip. Unfortunately, I got stopped out for around that 4 to 1 just due to the volatility. So, I did make 4 to 1 on that trade, but it is still continuing, so I'll probably sit aside on this pair for a bit. Still got a bit of a short bias, but I probably won't be touching that one for the week. The other one I had was the long on the Aussie yen. Similar to Kiwi, so it was a long. I got in about there, just off that pin there. I got stopped. I took a closed trade there for about a 1 to 1. Then went up to rally up to about a 4 to 1 off my original entry, but it's since collapsed back. And if you remember me saying that I wasn't too comfortable to hold that just because of the counter trend nature of that. But good for a sneaky 1 to 1. But would have liked to have got a little bit more out of that, and the potential was there, but just sort of cashed out early. The only other trade I did put one other trade on during the week was the US dollar Canadian. That's the fib of where I entered there. So I sort of put a short in off that level. Just looking on the daily, just off the back of that sort of pin bar there, and off that resistance. There's a bit of volatility around there, so I actually got taken out on this pin. It actually rallied down, almost made me 2 to 1, but then was quite volatile and dropped up. So on the hourly chart there, you can see it. It's come down, and then it's retreated back, and I got stopped out shortly after. It's since on its way back down. My bias towards this pair is probably still long. I'd like to see it probably drop back down to around that 125.72 level. If I can, that was a sneaky counter trend trade, which didn't quite pay out. Other trades I'm looking at for the week. So Aussie yen, probably won't be looking at too much at this one at all. It's still a bit bearish, and I don't really see a good level to really get a strong counter trend long off of where it's currently sitting, unless it drops down to that 82. If it pulls back up to that 86, I might consider a short, but it's probably in consolidation mode for me for the week until I get a little bit more information and see how the context develops. Aussie dollars, a little bit more clear cut. I'd probably consider a bit of a short around that 78 level, or 78.85. It sort of rallies back up to there, just on the basis of that sort of, there's a bit of resistance through there, but it's not a super strong level, to be honest. And it's, see how it develops, but I'll probably sit out on the Aussie dollar as well. Similar to British pound, short bias. Although after being stopped out on that a couple of weeks ago, it is very choppy. Might consider a short if I manage to get in up near the top of that sort of resistance level through here a little bit and manage to get a good stop. But, probably not one I'm probably going to look at. Euro dollar is one that intrigues me a lot this week. It's sort of sitting. So just looking on the daily chart there, it's sort of sitting at not a bad sort of prior. You got prior resistance there, and it's come down, it's tested support. Has just made a higher high off that, and it's sort of refound support there again. So if we get a bit of a pullback earlier this week, or even close to current levels, where I can sort of get in around that 122.75 and put a stop down here somewhere, I'll probably take that trade with an expectation for it to sort of rally back up to that 125 area. Similar with the pound dollar as well to the euro. Similar thing. It's the daily charts are structurally look fairly similar. If you look at them side by side, the pound dollar and the euro dollar daily. Yeah, it's a similar thing. I'll be looking to potentially get long if I get a good sort of setup or context off there. Manage to get in down near the bottom of that retracement. I'll be happy to take those odds. Kiwi dollar. Again, that was the one from the trade. I just thought I managed to cash out for 4 to 1 last week. I'm still a bit bearish on this, but it has reached down where I sort of expect to find a little bit of support through there, just because it is sort of a strong sort of uptrend still. So I'm probably not too keen to take a strong directional trade either way with it at the moment, near current levels, unless it drops back down to that sort of 72 cent. I may consider getting long off here if I can, or maybe short it again up around that 74.25, but It's sort of at about its fair value at the moment. It's not too far away from it, so I'll probably leave that one look for the week. Aussie Canadian dollar, as I said, I had that failed trade last week, had the failed short up there. If it pulls back around that 125.70 off that, you can see a bit of prior resistance, touches there and there through there. So if I can get a good long off that, might consider that one. US Swiss, one I haven't probably mentioned so far this year. Sort of strong downtrend still, but sort of starting to consolidate a little bit. If I can get in around that 90, that resistance level up there, I'll be happy to probably have a bit of a look at that. So historically, that's the bit of a long range daily chart. It's a pretty nice, bit of a nice level historically. So, and it's with trend as well on the daily, which is sort of what I like. You can sort of see it is still making lower lows, but I've sort of found a bit of support there, and I am expecting a bounce to that 94.50, where I'll potentially get short and put a stop up above the top of that range. Yen dollar, dollar yen, similar to the dollar Swiss as well. Similar structure, still downtrend. Probably not too keen to touch that. I'm not comfortable enough to take a short off that, a long off that 105 level, but I will consider a short off that 108, just on the daily chart. Aussie Canadian dollar, sort of range bound, as normal, has sort of come back down to that 98.80 level, where again, if I can get in along off that, I'll consider it, but probably more inclined to leave this one sit for the week. But I have to wait and see once the market's open and see how the context develops on these shorter time frames there, where we get a bit of rejection, a bit of action. Aussie Kiwi, probably not too much on this one. Again, if I can get short up around that 108.58, I'll give it a go, but not really comfortable taking a long off that current level. Just being counter trend as well. Prefer to trade with the big boys if I can. Euro Aussie dollar, similar. I've been talking for the last couple of weeks about the possibility of getting short up here. Nothing has really presented itself, hasn't really come up hard, but it is still up bullish, and I'm probably not gonna, if it does pull back up to that 158 level, I'm probably not too keen to get to a short, just because of the time. Since this impulsive move, I do feel it's going to push through that level eventually. So my bias is probably still long, and I'd probably like to take a with trend trade off that blue line there at that 156. Probably not really actively considering a short off that high level like I've discussed in the previous weeks anymore. Similar for the pound dollar as well. Sort of happy-ish to play that both ways. But yeah, similar to the Euro Aussie, I'm probably only really interested in the long off here. The short off here, I'm not as keen off anymore. But we'll see how that develops. And that's the gold, just for interest's sake, sort of still hovering between those large levels at 1300 to 1360. So don't really trade gold that actively, but always like having a bit of an idea of what's it doing. So that's it for the week, I suppose. Like I said, probably change my opinion once the market opens a little bit, but that's sort of what I'm looking at. Those blue lines you sort of see on the charts are the levels that I'm watching and interested in for the week. So yeah, last week, 1 +4 trade, 1 +1 and a -1, so up +4 for the week. So not a bad week all around, and hopefully we can sort of duplicate the results again this week off a couple of those other trades. Probably the Euro dollar long and Euro Aussie long potentially. Anyway, we'll see how that sits, and yeah, talk to you next week.